On a Friday night under the Williamsburg Bridge, in a small, unmarked dining room with a black and white tile floor and a wooden bar that has not been refinished since the Truman administration, a waiter in a starched white jacket sets down a heavy black oval steakhouse platter, tilted on a chrome plate stand at a precise 15-degree angle. On the platter sits a single dry-aged 48-ounce Porterhouse, charred mahogany brown on the outside, rosy pink medium rare inside, already sliced thickly across the bone, glistening with rendered tallow and a melting cube of cold butter sliding slowly down toward the low end of the tilted platter, where the juices have pooled into a glossy reservoir of pure beef. This is Peter Luger's, in business in Brooklyn since 1887. The Michelin Guide stripped it of its star in 2020. The Forbes ranking dropped it. Nobody in Brooklyn cared. There is still a 6-week wait for a reservation. Tonight, we walk through how to cook one of those steaks at home. I am joined by third-generation Brooklyn master butcher Tony Pellegrino from Park Slope and New York Times restaurant critic Patria Whitfield. A brief history is essential before the technique because the institution explains the steak. Peter Luger's opened in 1887 on Broadway in Williamsburg, originally as Carl Luger's Cafe, Billiards, and Bowling Alley. By the 1940s, the place was failing, and the family put it up for auction in 1950. The only bidder was a Brooklyn restaurant supplier named Saul Foreman, who bought it for $35,000, primarily because his factory was across the street and he wanted a guaranteed lunch spot for his employees. Saul's wife, Marcia, trained as the buyer at the 14th Street Wholesale Meat Market and personally hand-selected every USDA prime short-loin section delivered to the restaurant for the next 40 years. They charged in cash, kept the menu obsessively narrow, refused credit cards until 2018, and built one of the most enduring brand equity stories in American restaurant.
All right, listen, let me tell you about the cut. Because if the cut is wrong, forget about it. The rest don't matter. The Porterhouse, you know what it is the king cut from the rear of the short loin. The Porterhouse contains both the New York strip and a substantial filet mignon on the other, which is what makes it a Porterhouse and not a regular T-bone. By federal USDA spec, the filet portion has got to be at least 1¼ inches across at the widest point. Otherwise, it's just a T-bone, kid. For 2 people, you want at least a 48-ounce Porterhouse, 3 pounds, 2½ to 3 inches thick. Come on, this is the Luger style, no thinner. USDA prime grade, marbling score moderately abundant or higher, the top 2% of all American beef, and dry age 30 to 45 days minimum, 28 at the very least. Dry aging at 34 degrees Fahrenheit, 85% humidity, breaks down muscle proteins and concentrates flavor. Without the aging, you got a steak. With it, you got a Luger steak. I'm telling you.
Not a prep. Listen close. Take the Porterhouse out of the refrigerator 1 full hour before cooking. Come on, this is non-negotiable. A cold steak from 40 degrees Fahrenheit will not sear properly. The surface protein needs to come up to room temp around 65 Fahrenheit. Pat the steak completely dry with paper towels, both sides and the edges, fat cap and all. Moisture on the surface is the #1 enemy of a good crust. Take it from me. Now season heavy with coarse diamond crystal kosher salt only, about 3 teaspoons total, sprinkled high from 12 inches above the steak so it falls evenly. Salt only, no pepper, no garlic powder, no olive oil, no marinade, no nothing. Pepper burns under a high broiler at 800 Fahrenheit, turns bitter. Garlic burns, oil smokes. The Luger philosophy is the dry-aged prime beef and the fire at a show. You add nothing. Let the salted steak sit on a wire rack for 30 minutes more before cooking. Surface dries even further. That is the magic dry surface for a perfect mayal crust. Forget about it. Ready.
Now the broiler science, this is the most important part because you don't have a Peter Luger broiler at home. Their custom overhead salamander broiler runs at 800 to 850 Fahrenheit, which is hotter than any home oven. To replicate it at home, the trick is 2 heat sources stacked. Number 1, preheat your home oven to 500 Fahrenheit, the maximum, with a heavy 12-inch cast iron pan or a heavy steel sheet pan inside for 30 full minutes. You hear me, kid? 30 minutes. The pan needs to come up to at least 450 Fahrenheit on the surface. Number 2, 5 minutes before cooking, switch your oven to broil on high. Position your top oven rack 4 to 6 inches below the top broiler element. Now your home oven approximates Luger's heat. Radiant 500 Fahrenheit plus from above, 450 degree contact heat from below. Do not skip the cast iron preheat. Come on, the preheat is everything.
Now we cook. Pull a screaming hot cast iron out wearing a heavy oven mitt. This pan is at 500 Fahrenheit and it will burn you. Take it from me. Place steak gently in the pan. You hear that scream? That's the sear. That's good. Sear 2 minutes total. No peeking, no moving.
Then transfer the entire pan back to the top rack under the broiler for 4 minutes. Pull it out, flip the steak using long-handled tongs, and broil the other side 4 to 5 more minutes. Now check internal temperature with an instant read thermometer through the side, deepest in the strip side meat. Pull at 120 Fahrenheit for rare, 125 Fahrenheit for medium rare, the way Luger serves it. The temperature will rise 5 to 7 degrees during rest. Do not overshoot. Remove from broiler. Now the magic finish. Drop 2 tablespoons of cold cultured butter on top of the steak. Return to broiler for 60 seconds. The butter melts, browns to a deep amber, and bastes the surface in nutty rendered fat. Paul, mamma mia, beautiful. Now the rest in the platter, this is the final move. Come on. Transfer the steak immediately to a heavy metal serving platter, ideally an oval steakhouse platter that has been preheated in the warm oven for 20 minutes. You want to keep it warm but not still cooking. Tilt the platter at 15 degrees on a small chrome plate stand or even a folded oven mitt propped at one end. Rest the steak 10 full minutes. You hear me, kid? 10 minutes. The rendered tallow and beef juices will pool to the low end of the tilted platter, which is exactly the Luger presentation. After 10 minutes, slice the steak across the bone in thick 3/4-inch pieces, separating the strip side from the fillet side. Then arrange the slices fanned across the T-bone on the same platter. Drizzle the pooled tallow at the low end back over the slices. Crack a generous amount of fresh black pepper over the top now, never before. Serve immediately while the platter is still warm. Bellissimo. That is a Luger Porterhouse.
And the sides matter as much as the steak. Peter Luger's sides menu has not meaningfully changed since 1950. The opening course at every table is the famous thick-cut bacon, 3 slices per person, 3/4 of an inch thick, broiled briefly under the same 800 Fahrenheit overhead broiler. Then comes the iceberg and tomato salad with their proprietary Luger steak sauce, a sweet, tangy ketchup and horseradish-based sauce that the Foreman family has bottled and sold since 1940. The 2 canonical sides ordered with the Porterhouse are the German fried potatoes, boiled Yukon Gold potatoes broken roughly into chunks, and pan-fried in beef tallow until deep golden brown, and the creamed spinach, made with heavy cream, butter, garlic, and nutmeg. Order Schlag, the unsweetened whipped cream, and slivered chocolate gold coins for dessert. Drink a Cabernet Sauvignon from California or Bordeaux. The total bill for 2 with wine at the restaurant runs roughly $280 before tax. The home version with 1 good dry-aged porterhouse from a Brooklyn or Lower East Side butcher runs about $90 and is honestly 95% of the way there.
3 takeaways. First, the Porterhouse cut itself does most of the work. USDA prime grade with a federally compliant fillet section at least 1 1/4 inches across, 3 pounds and 2.5 inches thick for 2 people, and dry-aged 30 to 45 days at 34 Fahrenheit. These specifications are non-negotiable. Second, the home oven adaptation of Peter Luger's 800-degree salamander is the Cast Iron Plus broiler stack. 30-minute preheat at 500 Fahrenheit with a heavy cast iron pan, then switch to broil high 4 to 6 inches below the top element. Sear 2 minutes in the pan, broil 4 minutes per side, finish with cold butter and a final 60-second broil. Pull the steak at 125 Fahrenheit for true Luger medium rare. Third, the tilted steakhouse platter rested 10 minutes. The pooled tallow drizzled back over the sliced meat across the bone. No pepper or anything else before cooking. Served with creamed spinach, German fried potatoes, and a glass of California Cabernet. That is the Luger way. Salt, fire, dry-aged prime beef, and patience. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Patricia. Until next time.